Well, September. It arrives today. This is Sunday, September 1st. Still dancing through the land of Virgo. So, getting our stuff into some level of, meaningful coordination is up because that's what Virgo does. It makes the determination, ruled by Mercury, by the way, as to how do things fit together one with another? What is the best way to do that? By the way, if anybody wants to get in touch with me, livelyastrologer.com is my website, and livelyastrologer@gmail.com is my email. Email. Let's just go real quick. Over here to our chart. Tomorrow is the 2nd, and we begin the week with a new moon. Always a time to, consider what is it that I want to set as my intention for this next lunar cycle, because that's what sets up these new moons. The moon going around every 27, 28 days, as it were. This time in Virgo, each time it comes around to a new sign, I'd say usually, because sometimes you'll get two new moons in the same month, or two full moons in the same month. Anyway, this is new moon time. Time to set your intentions for, how is it that I look at things, and in a unique way, how am I utilizing that kind of energy to the best way that I can? After all, it is an earth sign. Be practical. That is part of the scenario. And so we've got, I'm just going to run through the week real quickly. There's a lot of stuff that happens this week. This is the 2nd. Besides the new moon, Uranus, switching from Sunday to Monday, goes retrograde. So we have Uranus sitting here at 27 degrees of Taurus, and it will be there for a number of days, maybe for a whole week. On this same day, we have Mars coming into square with Neptune here, retrograde over here in Pisces. And we'll go to the next day, Tuesday. We have Venus conjoined with the south node of the moon. Jump ahead a couple more days to the 5th. Mars enters Cancer on this day. Other factors related to Mars that also on this day, Mars goes out of bounds and will be out of bounds until the 18th of the month. Jump ahead a couple more days. And on this day, we have a couple things. Mercury comes into a square with Uranus retrograde over here from that Leo to Taurus flavor. And on this day, the Sun moves into an exact opposition with Saturn, something that's been in play actually for a while. And we'll go to Sunday. Mercury here, see 29 degrees 6. It moves into on this day because Mercury's moving at almost 2 degrees a day. Is going to move into Virgo on this day. Okay, let's see if we can unpack this energy in an effective enough way. A lot of things you can kind of see, just that sweet swish the charge through the week. Is that, who are our players for this week? Let's see. To begin with, as Sunday became Monday, Pluto switched back into Capricorn. It's got it's still got some things to clear the deck of that may not have been entirely handled while Pluto was spending that long cycle, 2008 until recently in Capricorn, there are factors that, still need to be uncovered as far as that Capricorn dance is going. So if you are a Capricorn and born late in the Capricorn dance, which means kind of that mid-January time, Pluto's coming back for a visit to say, have you really done all the things that you needed to do to make sure that you're really clear that you haven't got stuff still buried that is, wanting to be uncovered, that you're saying, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to get in there. That's, that's not comfortable land. Well, be that as it may, this revisit of Pluto into Capricorn is saying, yeah, this is the time to do it. One of the things that often doesn't get emphasized quite as much as it could is that the discomfort factor of what Pluto is attempting to expose comes from our lack of willingness to do the internal work ourselves. That's it, because if you're willing to do the internal work, really willing to look at that soul level of who you are, then this process doesn't necessarily mean it'll be easier. It's you will recognize the vitality that is trying to put in an appearance in your world that you have been reluctant to invite into your life dance. There's a different way to look at Pluto, huh? Yeah, discomfort if you're not willing to do the dance. Okay, we have the new moon, of course, and you always talk about the new moons because, and it's Virgo, we're setting our intention for this next month to be Virgoan, How do you incline yourself to engage with those that are in your workforce? These are your compatriots, those you bump shoulders with or elbows with every day in the work-life dance. Is that comfortable for you? This new moon is saying, focus on that. Are there, perhaps some factors in the work environment that could use some smoothing out? After all, sun vitality. Moon, how do you feel? How do you engage with one another? That's the work. Uranus stationing and going retrograde here at near the end of Taurus is saying, it's time to reconsider in a truly Taurian way, what are the factors that are on the table here? I just glance real quickly to see what does the Sabian symbol for that particular degree say. And the reason I'm bringing it up for is because we've got some out of bounds things that are happening this month, one of which happens this week, actually on Wednesday, and it has to do with Mars. The symbol for that particular degree is a woman. Past her change of life, experiences a new love. Man's capacity to rise in consciousness and feelings above biological limitations. What's a key word? Re-beginnings. You have to ponder, since this is Taurus, where this Uranus is doing its dance and has been doing its dance for, the past 6 years or so. How tuned in, I'm tuning into a Taurus energy. How tuned in am I to my passions? To the core reality of how I engage with life. I didn't say necessarily with other humans, but with life, with this planet and the natural environment within which we dwell. How passionate are you about that? Because your connection to this biosphere that we live in will be enhanced, passionately so, if you recognize that embodiment that we share with all of life. All of life is the key. There's some magic awaiting our participation if we are willing to take the opportunity to really be open to that exchange of energy with all of the living processes. There's a level of passion you may not have contemplated. And on this day as well, Mars has moved into a square, moving into a square with Neptune retrograde down here in Pisces. Gemini and Pisces. Gemini and Pisces. Do you sense the possibility that, perhaps, we're talking Neptune here, perhaps there might be an inspiration, or is it a drive that is inspiring the dreamscapes? This doesn't necessarily mean comfort in those dreamscapes, because, hey, it's Mars. Mars has got this impulsive, warrior type energy. And so, the dreams may take a little bit more of a dynamism as you clash perhaps with others. Always remember that Mars's function is to be a hero. How that actually works out is going to have a lot to do with how you are tuned in with your soul awareness. A hero in what fashion do you think is going to be in play? Don't hold the dreamscape back. Tuesday, a Mars day. Yeah, so I'm thinking there's some Mars factors this week that we need to pay attention to. On this day, Venus, see, hey, look at right off the bat, Venus conjoins the south node of the moon and Libra, so what could we say about that? Well, the south node of the moon, or let's say the nodal axis in the chart, opposite signs, in this case Libra and Aries, have to do with, our destiny line, or a destiny line of some fashion. And here we are, the destiny line between Aries, self, Libra, the other, Venus, the ruler of Libra, the other, also that Taurian factor. Might it be possible on this Tuesday that you're sensing there's a potential energy at work here? This is the south moon, which has an affinity toward what has already transpired along the way. And if you are too steeped in what happened along the way, Venus now is in this equation, are there potentially avenues in the partnership field that may have, surpassed what it was that they were intended for, and is now time to consider, letting some of that go so that there could be room for something new to put in an appearance, something vibrant and alive that, can't get in without space being allowed for that to transpire. Okay, let's go to Wednesday. Nope, we're going to Thursday. Mars, Thursday, a Jupiter day. Mars enters Cancer, you know. And you go, well, Mars, it's got a fiery side to it, the Aries thing. But let's not forget, it's the traditional ruler of Scorpio. So there's and also an affinity with water. And, you know, to add a little extra dimension, you say, well, Mars is basically in its fall when it enters this particular water sign because it's exalted when it's in Capricorn. But, you know, it's also the triplicity ruler of both day and night in Cancer. So it has some dignity. And now let's add a twist. Hey, what is that Mars dance in Cancer going to also have to include? On this day, September 5th, Mars is going to go out of bounds. It sits there, right almost exactly on that out of bounds line until the 18th of this month. So, you know, there's going to be 13 days of Mars out of bounds beginning on this Thursday. So remember what a out of bounds planet energy does? It could be unpredictable. There's that Uranian factor I was alluding to begin with. You know, wild, independent. These are, you know, possibly extreme. The energies of this Mars and being out of bounds, you know, I would sense that this doesn't necessarily mean overt comfort in that Cancerian dance that Mars is doing. It can also, an out of bounds planet, can tune into the vulnerable side of us. And, you know, you have to ask yourself, how vulnerable can Mars be in its dynamism? That's a ponderable, yeah, more like an essay consideration. I won't get into that. I think that's something that you and your soul, your heart, are going to have to look into yourselves and determine which direction am I going to allow my Mars, actually the Mars right now, to influence this life dance that this week is being brought. Actually, this is more than this week because the Mars is going to be out of bounds for a couple of weeks. And during that time, Moon is going to go out of bounds as well, but not quite until next week. So, let's bump ahead a couple more days. Okay, 7th, on this day, Mercury, see 27 degrees of Leo, exactly square. It's, you know, remember, Mercury's moving fast right now, about 2 degrees a day, a little bit less, is going to be square to this Uranus, you know. And these two planets, Mercury and Uranus, they're kind of like octaves of each other. Mercury, you know, stirs the pot, gets the energy percolating and stuff. Uranus takes that energy and says, how are we going to expand where that curiosity is going to lead us? Are we going to be comfortable enough with dynamic changes that we could throw into this cauldron of the life dance experience and allow to percolate to the surface with new versions of what it is we thought we knew? And there they are, like we hadn't seen them before. You know, this is magic at work. You know, don't hold it back. Allow it to transpire. You know, this square, you know, tension? Well, maybe tension, but these two planets, they really work well together, you know, inspiring that perhaps sudden change to transpire? Yeah. Anyway, that's one of the dynamic energies of today. On this same day, the sun moves into exact opposition with Saturn, you know, as it goes from Saturday to Sunday across this Virgo Piscean axis. Virgo's, getting the nuts and bolts of life, aligned just exactly so. Pisces, on the other hand, is more like, why bother? To try and organize these things at the physical level, it's really more along the lines of Virgo's forte. When, from the Piscean perspective, I want to, dissolve, if you were, that idea that there is an ideal alignment of how things are supposed to work out. And we're talking Saturn now. I have a lesson planned for you that actually requires a shuffling, a rattling, a tossing of the dice, if you were, into that matrix that you thought you understood so well. And the dreams, they call out saying, wake up, go to sleep, imagine this. I want you to think along new lines. Can you sense the possibility here that perhaps there is a new order attempting to put in an appearance? Now, that's a statement that has a long footprint on a lot of different levels. I'm not going to get into that right now, but suffice it to say that there is energy afoot currently here on planet Earth to awaken us, perhaps through our dreaming, into alternatives that we have not yet considered that could possibly allow for a human involvement more dynamically in tune with each other, with a life dance that is in tune not just with we people, but with all of living creation. We are made up of all this physical elements come from this planet, animated, if you were, by a soul awareness saying, what did I come here for? What's my purpose in being alive? How can I utilize this soul awakening to inspire this living experience to go in a different, more meaningful direction that I can share with all of life? Off my platform. Sunday comes. On Sundays, remember, Mercury is moving at about 2 degrees, a little less than 2 degrees a day. It's at the last degree of Leo, which means that on this day, Sunday, Mercury is going to move back into the sign of Virgo that it has rulership with. There should be, could be, perhaps would be a change in consciousness that is, asking us to awaken to a new set of parameters as to just how we engage with the nuts and bolts of this living experience that we're a part of. Mercury coming back into Virgo is going, while the sun is still there in Virgo, I would phrase this probably in one word: awaken or wake up. There are things that beckon our attention. And that reminds me, yesterday while out picking blackberries, we pick blackberries every year to make blackberry jelly with. The weather's been a bit peculiar here in the Northwest, and it was kind of, a little bit more of a challenge to pick the blackberries this time because it got really hot and then it got really cold. Matter of fact, I was together with a group of friends of mine that I went to grade school with in Cairo. We do this once a month. And on that morning, it was in the mid 40s, very chill. And the dampness, the fog in the morning and stuff. And so that dampness has a tendency to be a little bit of a challenge on the blackberries, because they get kind of mushy. They're not really ideal anymore. I actually sampled one and I went, oh my God, it tastes like it's changing into wine already. Anyway, there was this one path I hadn't taken in a while. So I decided, well, I'm going to go in there and see if I can find some berries. And just before going into this, and this is under a bunch of alder trees and stuff, the alder leaves, they were falling like snow. 10s, 20s, 30s of them, just, falling away, falling, just gently settling down to the ground. Lots of them. And I went, ooh, because this is the kind of weather often that we get at that fall season transition. And these trees, they are sending out the message. After all, fall is when the leaves drop from the trees. There's still a lot of leaves on the trees, but they're letting go. They're releasing, Fall is here. So, happy birthday to all those born in the middle area of Virgo. This is your time. This is your solar return. And if you want to look at that solar return, contact me. Let's see what else is at play besides the sun coming around to the same place it was when you were born. thelively.astrologer.com or thelively.astrologer@gmail.com. So that's all I have for this week. I want to thank you for sticking with me. Oh, that's right. I was going to talk a little bit about those hoodoos that are sitting behind me in this image. These are in New Mexico. And, if you just allow yourself to drift back a few million years, these are the kinds of sandstone configurations carved by the wind, but what is it that was carved? Where did the sandstone configurations come from? This whole area at one point was underwater, part of an oceanic level of awareness that, these are the formations that were left as the sea receded. And then the wind came along, decided to carve away the softer parts of them, leaving what is known as the hoodoo area there in New Mexico. There's the little gee whiz for this week. See you all next week. Ciao.